This is the ANYCUBIC Photon Mono X. This was the first larger format resin 3D printer that I purchased myself. And it has done an amazing job with almost anything I've thrown at it, from statues to some cosplay that I've been working on and some smaller prints as well as some props that I don't have here. It has done an amazing job both on quality and speed. But today, it may just be getting replaced by its new higher tech sibling, the Photon Mono X 6K. What does this printer bring to the table that this one doesn't? That's what we're going to find out here on Kersey Fabrications. Let's get going. Now before we get going, a disclosure. This video was sponsored by ANYCUBIC. They have fully sponsored this video and they've provided the printer as well as monetary compensation for the making of this video. Now what is this video going to be? It's going to be an unboxing. I'm going to talk about the features of this printer and I'm going to show you some test prints that I've done myself on it. Well, you know, once I get it out of the box. This video will not be a review of this printer because number one, they've paid me to make this video and I don't mix the two of those. And number two, because I haven't had enough time with this printer to do a full review. So now that that's out of the way, thank you to ANYCUBIC for providing the printer and sponsoring this channel. And let's get going with the unboxing. Now, while I unbox this, which with the resin printer isn't too exciting, I'm going to voice over all of the features that you may want to know about this printer, as well as a little comparison against the regular Mono X so that you can find out what they've upgraded. Alright, so let's get going. The printer on the left is going to be the Photon Mono X 6K, the printer I'm taking a look at in this video. And on the right, we have the original Photon Mono X, otherwise known as the Photon Mono X 4K at this point. Now obviously this new printer, as you can tell by the name, is a 6K resolution printer, and on the right it had 4K resolution. So you're going to get more pixels packed into this display for just about the same amount of screen real estate. The LCD resolution of this is going to be a 34 micron resolution, while the original display had a 50 micron resolution. And as I said, both of the printers have just about the same amount of screen real estate, with the new printer having just a slight bit more, original being in at 245 by 192 by 120, the new one coming in at 245 by 197 by 122, real close. Now the key to a mono display is that we only have one layer of pixels in this display as opposed to a normal one which has 3 layers of pixels. Now ultimately that should give us more light transmittance through the display, and so that's what we're looking at. The original Mono X had a 5% light transmittance, while the new one has a 6%. So looking at about a 20% increase in light getting to the print as opposed to the original one. And it also is going to give us a lot better contrast ratio. The difference between the white and the black and the grays are going to be better. So we're looking at 350 to 1 as opposed to the original's 200 to 1. Now, what does all of that mean in like the print speed category? Well, that's going to give us faster prints. Now, why is that? Well, obviously more light getting to the print means faster printing overall. So the new printer, we're going to be able to do up to 8 centimeters per hour once we're just got that tuned in just right. And on the original printer, we were at about 6 centimeters per hour. Again, real close to that 20% extra light that we're talking about from the 6K to the original 4K. Now, when we're looking at the machines overall, they're pretty much identical. The machine sizes are exactly the same. The machine weights, we're coming in just a bit heavier on the new machine at 1/4 kilogram more, but that's not a big deal. So that's it for the specs. Let's get on to the rest of the video. So now that I've covered all the features and everything's out of the box, let's take a look at what it comes with. Now keep in mind, this is what my review sample came with. I can't 100% guarantee that this is what you'll receive in the box, but from the looks of it, this is probably what's shipping with it. So one thing I really like about what they did with this machine is they actually shipped it with a screen protector, and in my case it appears to have come with an extra one. So there's one already on here that I'm going to need to remove the protective layer from, but this is really nice because what this allows you to do is actually protect the screen from resin spilling on it or from it getting scratched. So if something were to happen at this point, it's like a cell phone or a tablet, you can just peel this screen protector off, put another one on, and you haven't damaged your expensive screen, which beyond the cost is just a pain to replace. So good on ANYCUBIC for including this. Also, you're going to have some protective gear that it comes with, which are going to be some gloves, protect your hand from resins at all time, as well as a face mask in case you're worried about getting splashed in the face. You want to stay covered, they've got you covered. And of course, the major printer parts, we're going to have our vat, which already has a FEP sheet installed on it with a protective coating that's going to need to be removed. And we're going to have our build plate. Now, our build plate has this amazing new texture on it that I'm sure is designed to better hold your prints to the printing plate. It's like a checkerboard, but it's a pretty fine checkerboard. I think it will do a great job of adhering the prints to the printer, and that's what we're going to find out when we do our test prints. Obviously, USB stick. We have a little antenna that's going to be used for the wireless operation of this machine, which I probably won't be covering in this video. But from what I understand, I think there's an app for it. Now we've got some tools with it. Of course, every new printer, you're going to need some tools. It's also going to come with the little knobs that are going to hold your vat down to the machine. And it comes with a bunch of extra screws. I don't believe, at least at this point, that these are going to be needed. I believe these are extras. And finally, obviously, wherever region you're in, it's going to come with a power cord for that region. Now, this is a big beefy power supply for a resin printer. This is a 144 watt power supply, so there's going to be a lot of power for the screen and particularly for those LED lights, which are going to be pretty bright on this machine. Now I'm going to clean off this area a little bit, set up to do my first leveling, get some resin in the vat, and it's about time to get printing. Let me show you how this works. Now I'm about to move forward with the assembly and setup of this printer, but I wanted to comment on one thing before I move forward, and that is the quality of this machine and the heft of this machine. This is really a heavy machine. In fact, two hands to pick this thing up. At almost 12 kilograms, it's a beefy machine. It's all metal. All of this is metal assembly. And these are 15 millimeter dual linear rails on this thing. And it just really makes for a solid machine. And in fact, the only thing plastic on here that I'm aware of is in fact the cover. Other than that, just small little things. But anyway, let's go ahead and get moving with this setup. First of all, what we want to do, this, as I mentioned, has a screen protector already on it. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove that top layer of the screen protector. Next up, we're going to need our vat. That also has a screen protector on the bottom of it. I'm going to pull that off as well. First thing we want to do, let's go and cut on the machine. And while we're doing that, we will pull off the cover here. Beeps, and we see our display. And we're going to come down here. Oh, look, we've got another protector down there. We don't need that. So we're going to come down here. We're going to go to Tools. We're going to move Z. We're going to choose the 10 millimeter. We're going to do that so that we can get the build plate under here to get the bed nice and level. All right, once that's up high enough, let's go ahead and unscrew that just a little bit. Then we can take our build plate. Now, one thing I want to do on this build plate to prepare it before we ever get started, I'm going to take a little IPA. This is, I believe, 90%, 91% IPA. I'm going to go ahead and spray that on here. All right, and this is just prepping this surface in case there was anything on it from the factory, makes it not stick well. I always find that this helps that initial sticking. It's basically what you'll do after each print anyway if you're going to be cleaning up your build plate. So I'm going to loosen these up to where it moves freely. I'm going to then fit this on here. Push it and tighten it down. I'm going to need this sheet it came with, this paper to be used for leveling. I'm going to put that under here. going to actually leave that sticking out just a little bit so that I can grab it. And put it on like this so I can grab that front edge. I'm going to go ahead and hit the home button. And that should lower the build plate down so that I can then tighten it. That will be our level position. Okay, so it thinks that that is home at this point. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to push this down with both hands gently. I'm not trying to make this tight. I just want it to be level. So I'm going to tighten that one down. That one. Then I'm going to pick it up off the floor. And then I'm going to do the next two. Should be ready to go now. I'm going to come on here to the screen, and there's a Z equals 0 on the very bottom of this. I'm going to click that one. It's going to say setting equals to 0. I'm going to say enter. Setting OK. Rise platform now. I'll say enter again, and it'll raise that up for me. Let's go ahead and get this cleaned off. And then I can put this under here. It should lock into place like you see right there. Then I can go ahead and screw it down with the provided screws. Let's go ahead and load it up with some resin. This is from Zhanghe. I'm going to say that wrong, and I apologize to all of my Chinese friends. Zhanghe Conjure Resin. This is their rigid. I've got a whole kilogram here. Let's give this a shot. So first of all, make sure you shake up your resin. Right, at this point, I'm about to open up the resin. It is time to put on safety equipment. Now, I'm going to use just gloves. If you feel more comfortable, you can also put on the face mask that was provided and potentially an apron if you want to protect the clothes you're wearing. Again, this is resin. It can mess up your clothing. It can mess up a lot of things. So take whatever safety precautions you feel necessary. At the bare minimum, please protect your skin. Make sure that your hands are covered, and you also may want to wear eye protection. So let's get going. I'm going to put enough in here to get going. Probably fill up the vat about halfway or so. There is a max line that is in here towards the back. All loaded up. So we are ready at this point for a test print. Oh, by the way, forgot my little antenna. Like I said, I probably won't be covering that here. But let's go ahead and get that off my table and hook up the antenna. Now I believe it's time to get going with a test print, which I'm hoping will be on this SD card. I'm going to back all the way up. And one thing I like about the mono printers is the USB stick is really convenient here in the front of the printer, and it's easy to plug that in, easy access right where it needs to be. Go ahead and say print. And there is a test print on here. It looks like it's the ANYCUBIC cube, which hopefully you can see on here. They provide a nice little preview in their slicer so that you can just see right there on the screen what it's going to be before you print it. And then, if all goes well, I'm just going to hit play. And we're going to see what it does. Fans cut on, it gets a little bit louder here. It's got great fans in here. Again, a little bit louder, but it's going to keep that display nice and cool while it's doing the printing. There it goes, and it's printing. So I'm going to let this first test print go. We're going to see how long it takes. I am very curious since it is my first test print and this is supposed to be a nice speedy printer. Let's see how it does. Let's take a look at the quality of the first print that comes off of here, and then I'll look at what I'm going to slice for my first test print using their slicers. All right, all done. We're going to take a look at it, but first we need to move it over here to the ANYCUBIC Wash and Cure Plus. I'm happy to report that we did have full success on this first print. My leveling must have been good because no problems at all getting this out of here. And then over to the wash and cure. So let's find out, how well does it pop off the build plate? I'm going to just do this over the vat. It'll fall into my basket, which is already in there. There it goes. I did get it off with the plastic scraper. I just needed the leverage of the table to do it. Now, I've got my print. Just going to throw that into the vat there. and let's get this going. Let's give that, I don't know, a good 4 minutes or so in the washing. We should be good to go in a minute, and then we'll cure it. All right, so we're all finished here. Let's take a look at the results. Really, really good. The ANYCUBIC logo looks like it came out well, and the entire print looks very good. What's impressive to me is how clean this 35mm writing is here on the bottom of the print. Looks really, really clean, and for a very small font. The settings on here were really good. I think I must have broken this one a little bit when I was actually spraying it with the air, because it's a little bit loose now due to a broken peg on the bottom, but that does not look like it happened during printing. It looks like it had to do with me spraying it with the air a little bit too hard. But other than that, looks fantastic. So why don't we go take a look at the software real quick. I'll import a print. We'll do a couple of my own prints and see what they look like. Okay, here we are inside of Photon Workshop version 2.1.29 RC9. This is the version of the software that actually came with the printer. Now I've imported in the Faerie Dragon from Photos Mint. This is the same model that I printed on my regular Mono X. And if you look at the settings, I went with the Mono X here, and then standard resin, and then basically I'm just leaving it at defaults. We're going to try this first before I start dialing anything in. I'm going to see how the standard settings work on this printer before making any changes. I'm going to angle this model a little bit. Alright, so then we're going to come up here and we're going to want to hollow this out. So let's go ahead and do a hollow. So now you'll see that the model is hollow. We're going to want to punch a hole or two in the bottom. I'm just going to do one here, and then I'm going to do one more up here. That'll make it easy to drain the resin out of the bottom of this model. Alright, so we have 2 holes punched. If we want to double check it, we can make sure that he actually went all the way through. And there's one of them, and there's the other one, no problems. Alright, we can close that dialog, and now we should be ready for supports. And I'm just going to go with this as is. We're going to see how well it does using default settings. Hopefully it catches everything it needed to. I'm not seeing anything blatantly like missing here, so we're going to hope for the best. Go back over here and we're going to say slice. And we'll save it to our USB drive. Alright, so this is a big one. We've got 8 hours and 10 minutes. Let's get going. Alright, so this one's done. Looks like it turned out pretty good so far, except for a little bit of support failure on the front. That comes from the software, not from the printer. And so what I need to do, get this one off of here, get it cleaned up so we can take a good look at it. While I do that, I'm going to start one more print that I want to get done before the end of this video. So let me get that started, and I'll see you at the end. Now, while these test prints finish, let me tell you what's going on with ANYCUBIC for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Now, all of these deals I'm about to mention are good from November 22nd through December 4th, which means if you're watching this video when it just came out, we're already in the middle of all of these deals. Now, let me show you what's going on and tell you about some of my favorite deals. So as I was looking at what's going on their website, these deals particularly jumped out at me. Number one, if you're trying to get into resin printing and you're not really sure if it's for you yet, check out the $99 Photon S they've got on sale. Or if you want to go ahead and step up to a mono display, you can see that they've got the Photon Mono for $169. Now, if you want to check out the Photon Mono X, which I've talked about in this video and has been a long-standing great printer for me, check out the Mono X for $499. It is an awesome larger format printer. Now, if you're getting into resin printing, while I tried to build my own washing and curing setup, I have to admit it just wasn't worth the hassle, and honestly the results are a lot better if you just pick up a wash and cure for yourself. You can get a wash and cure 2.0 for $109 if you're getting a smaller printer, or you can get the Wash and Cure Plus, which I honestly just bought myself, and now you can get it for $189. Now, if you're not ready to check out Resin for yourself, check out the great deals they have on their FDM printers, like the Mega S and Mega X, which you can see right here on this page. Now, if you also check out the link at the top of this page, you can get a great deal on random color PLA or resin, depending on what type of printing you're going to do. You can check out the deals on this page. This will get you some great materials to either get started or to just add to your collection if you're anything like me. So whether you're ready to get started with resin printing or you just need another FDM printer, check out what ANYCUBIC has to offer over this time period. They've got some great deals, and thanks once again to ANYCUBIC for sponsoring this video. So the results are in. Let's take a look at what this printer was able to produce. So I wanted to do a comparison of this printer to the original Mono X to see if I could tell a difference between the prints. Now, one thing I want to note before we take a look at this one, number one, the scale didn't turn out to be exactly the same. I'm not exactly sure why. I'm not sure which one got scaled up or scaled down. And number two, these are different resins. I didn't have any more of the resin that I used on the original Mono. So I used the Conjure Rigid resin, which I'm hoping will be a close enough analog. I did use it in gray to hopefully get as close as I could. But the first thing I want to talk about on these is just the crispness of the 6K model. I even showed these to my daughters to get their opinion of the two models and to ask them what they noticed, and they just said that the new one was sharper. You can see all over the body, all over the tree, that the details are just crisper, sharper lines. And of course, some of this may have to do with the resin, but I don't believe we can chalk all of this up to the resin. It's just really clear, really crisp, and I just can't say enough good things about this model. Again, I did have some problems here on the bottom where the supports failed. I was still having some support issues across these models, but that's really the only thing I can complain about on this model. Those are settings I'm going to have to work out between the lift speed, where I was actually breaking off the supports due to the lifting, and just the type and size of the supports I think I'm going to have to learn how to use with this printer. Now let's move over to the new prints and take a look at what I got off of this machine. Now, I just got done seeing the new Ghostbusters movie, so this really caught my eye, these new models from Photos Mint, and they just blew me away. This Gatekeeper, Keymaster, whatever you want to call it, from the Ghostbusters movie, just absolutely fantastic. The detail on the skin, the texture, just how crisp everything is, the sharpness of like the ears or horns or whatever those are, just absolutely amazing. And the Venkman model is just, I mean, it's as close to perfect as I can imagine currently in 3D printing. All of the details of the suit, you can even see the fingernails on the hand, the details in the hair, and the expression on the face is just really, really clean. And like I said, much like on the Dragon, they're just sharp. The edges are just so crisp and sharp. I didn't use any anti-aliasing on these models, and you can just tell that the screen itself is producing a very sharp image. Now, one last thing I want to mention on these is one of the hardest things I find resin printers able to produce are good straight walls, good straight edges, basically where you can't tell that it was printed almost. And this printer really, really delivered. I'm going to look specifically at the base because the base of this model is just so clean. It really probably doesn't even need sanding. If you were to throw a coat of paint on this, it would really fill in all of the gaps and all of the details, and it would just be ready to go. And that's really one of the most impressive parts here. And talk about dimensional accuracy. These two prints were printed separately, of course, and they fit together. The tolerances are just so clean. There's a little bit of wiggle room. Obviously, you built a little tolerance into the model, and it just fits so well. Then this fits on here, and it's just ready to go off the printer with just a minor bit of cleanup. Overall, blown me away. I'm really, really impressed in the crispness, the cleanness, and like I was saying on the base of here, the accuracy of this printer. So that's it for the test prints. Let me wrap all of this up. Now that about does it. I couldn't be happier with the results from this printer. I've got a little bit of work to do to still tweak the profile just right to make sure I don't get any more failures on the supports. But overall, I have to say I've got a handful of failures and I kept improving with each print. And I'm really happy with the progress I've been able to make with this printer in such a short period of time. Now, first of all, I got a couple of people to thank for this video. Number one, I'm going to run past my Patreons here. Again, these folks keep this channel going, and I want to thank them in every video for all they do for me. Second of all, I want to thank ANYCUBIC for providing this printer and providing support for this channel in the form of this video. I want to tell you that next month I do have another video coming sponsored by ANYCUBIC, but it's going to be a full project build where I'm going to build something using this printer. I'm really excited about doing this, and I can't wait to show you those results when I start on that project. Next up, a quick thank you to Chi2Box for providing the resin I used in this printer. Again, this is the Zhanghe, again, butchering that, Conjure Rigid PLA. I loved it. It's super sharp on this printer and it looks fantastic. So thank you to them for providing the resin. And a special thanks to Fotis Mint for these amazing models. Check out a link in the description that will go to his Patreon. You can join and you can download models like this. I think that's about it, guys. If you're in the United States, happy Thanksgiving, and please check out those deals from ANYCUBIC on their website. Oh, and obviously, if you're interested in purchasing this printer, they're about to start third round pre-orders on this printer on November 29th, 9 a.m. You can get it on this for $599. That's only about $100 more than what you'll currently pay for the original Mono X on Black Friday. So if you liked what you saw here, you want to get in on this November 29th, take a look at it. I think it's a good deal and I'm really happy with the one I have here. So thank you all for watching, all the best, and I'm Chris. This has been Kersey Fabrications. I will see you in the next video.